Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. On behalf of Ikore International Development, I am delighted to welcome you to our World Food Day 2025 webinar, Scaling Nutrition Through Collaboration, Better Foods, Better Future. Just a brief preamble before we actually start and I introduce our speakers. Each year, World Food Day reminds us that hunger and malnutrition are challenges we can solve if we work together. This year's theme is particularly close to our hearts at Ikore as it captures our mission to drive market-led innovative solutions that make safe, nutritious, and affordable food accessible for all. We are so glad you have joined us here, whether you're a development partner, policymaker, agribusiness, SMEs, civil society actor, or just someone who is passionate about food systems. Collaboration truly begins with conversations like this. And so once again, I welcome all of us here. Today, we'll be hearing from three incredible speakers who are leading change across Nigeria's nutrition and food system landscape. So first of all, I'll be introducing Kemi Jeje, the founder of Co-Eat and the Community Pot Project, who is redefining healthy eating through wholesome, accessible meals and community-driven nutrition solutions. Her initiative combats child malnutrition in Nigeria by providing nutrient-rich, locally sourced meals to vulnerable children while promoting sustainable, inclusive food practices that nurture healthier futures. Our second speaker is Mr. Tomisin Odumbaku, the National Program Coordinator of the SUS Sun Business Network Nigeria, championing private sector engagement in Nigeria's fight against malnutrition as the private arm of the Global Sun movement. Through initiatives like food safety training for SMEs, regional hub coordination, and multi-stakeholder town halls, he drives policy advocacy, partnerships, and innovation to transform Nigeria's food systems for healthier futures. Our third speaker is Favor Jaro, a nutrition specialist and project manager on the Ikore Sites project. She leads efforts to strengthen agri-food SMEs across Benue, Oyo, Lagos, and Kano states. She focuses on engaging business capacities and improving market access for nutrient-dense value chains as a strategy to combat malnutrition. Through training, mentorship, and financial linkages, Favor has supported 500 enterprises, driving sustainable development and nutrition security in Nigeria's food system. Together, they represent the kind of collaboration that truly powers sustainable food system transformation from community action to policy innovation to enterprise support. So we will begin a fireside conversation with our speakers, followed by an interactive Q&A session with you, our audience. So please stay engaged, drop your thoughts and questions in the chat as the conversation is going on, so that we can make this a lively and insightful conversation. But however, before we leave with the questions, before we get started, could everyone quickly share in the chat where you are joining us from, just your name, your organization, your state. Let's just see how diverse our audience is today. Thank you. I'll give us a few seconds, few minutes to just do that quickly. Thank you very much for joining us once again. I will start by throwing the first ball to Mr. Tomisin Odumbaku. Please, Mr. Tomisin, just react quickly to show that you're here. He's our first speaker, and as I said earlier, he leads private sector engagement in Nigeria's fight against malnutrition. Tomisin, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. So, our first question for today: in what ways has GAIN been able to achieve its broader vision for nutrition through collaboration with government and private sector actors?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Please confirm you can hear me. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you for the introduction. So I'll just go straight to it. First, I'll start by introducing myself, the work I do at GAIN, and then share a broader vision of what GAIN is, which directly answers the first question. My name is Tomisi Odumbako, as introduced, and I've been privileged to work with businesses, agri-businesses mostly, across the country and in some other African countries. And the work I do is simply to identify interested businesses who are who have the vision to impact the nutrition space, and we find a way to manipulate their models in such a way that it becomes not just for profit, but a social enterprise. So the work I do and the work Gain does is strongly towards collaboration. And from the name, you can hear Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition. We work in alliance with the government, with the private sector, with civil society, with associations, with organized private sector. We are imagine us like an octopus with a lot of tentacles trying to grab the same vision, which is that ensuring every human being, starting with 1.5 billion people across the globe, especially the ones who have less privileges, who are most vulnerable to getting safe food. Think of people in IDPs, think of people who are malnourished, think of people who we call who have what we call hidden hunger, who are eating food but are not eating the right ones. And we work in collaboration with government to ensure that there is an alignment in interventions with national nutrition priorities. What that means is there is an intention of the government to change the narrative in terms of nutrition. And you know what those numbers are. But some numbers that shock me is something like when you hear that 9 out of 10 Nigerians eat what is not safe. What that means is everything you put in your mouth is literally not safe. And more often than not, that is true because when you buy something, you don't know which one will take you to the next hospital. It is that bad. And so we know it's a complex problem. What GAIN has done is to ensure that there is a program again that addresses every kind of systemic problem in the food system space. So I've mentioned working government, the private sector, which is um, what I am good at in terms of engagement with businesses across the country. I'll talk about some of the programs we do later, but that is an introduction. In terms of advocacy, SBN is an arm of a global movement, and there are other stakeholders like the Sun Civil Society who are directly linked to the Sun movement in terms of advocacy for civil societies. So we have that partnership as well. We have a large-scale food fortification program that works with regulatory agencies and so on in terms of partnerships that we have across the country to ensure that we engage every stakeholder possible in the nutrition space.
Thank you very much, Timothy. That was quite insightful. So I will be passing the baton to Kemi Jeje, who is the founder of Who Eats Africa. So Kemi, thank you for being here. My question to you at the moment, how is the Nutrition Support Center initiative helping women and children overcome malnutrition?
Hi, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you very much, Ikore, for inviting me to be part of this very on-time conversation. My name is Oluwakemi Jeje, and I'm the team lead for OLITs and for Community Ports. And the work that we do sits right at the intersection of innovation, of nutrition, and of community engagement. And like my Oga, Tomisi had said, hello, Tomisi, good to see you on this conversation. And which is what this really is about, partnerships and collaboration. And I've seen in the past 4 years, we've been in this space in the past 4 years, more actively in 2 years. that where this is a very simple problem, the nutrition problem, but very systemic and very impossible to deal with as an individual organization, like Tomisi had mentioned. It's a system that requires that everyone comes together to solve the problem. So just to give you a background, we started off as what we call as community ports, programming in hospitals with a program we call the Rehabilitation Support Program, where we go into hospitals and provide support for children that are visibly already dealing with moderate acute malnutrition or severe in the hospitals. That's what we find. Children that are already dealing with complications as a result of malnutrition that has been sustained over a period of time. And when they come in, they're already presenting other complications. We provide the nutrition part of the support for recovery. And usually what we found was quickly that they didn't come back as soon as the child looked like the child was fine, not realizing that the underlying challenge of nutrition or malnutrition still needed to take it a while to resolve. We would usually give them maybe say come back in another 2 weeks. The ones that did the most came back twice. It was usually a 3 month program to get them from being malnourished to being okay. But they didn't come back. 80% of the mothers did not come back. And you find that the reason why they didn't come back was either poverty or convenience or lack of knowledge, was either of these three. So we quickly realized that we needed to find a way to get into their space where they do their daily living and make nutrition education available in those spaces, drive behavioral changes in those spaces. So what were we doing by moving from rehabilitation support to nutrition support center? We're dialing back into prevention, because you'd agree with me that it's smarter, definitely smarter to invest in prevention, and it's more it's more rewarding of whatever you put into it. So with Nutrition Support Center, we go into the communities. Of course, we still have our pathways between the centers and the communities and the hospitals that are in the communities, because in some cases there's need for medical intervention. In some cases, it's the hospital that referred the beneficiaries back to us in their communities where we work with them. So at Nutrition Support Center, essentially what we do is we get into the community. We get there and make nutrition accessible, we make it affordable, and then we make nutrition education also available, and then nutrition advisory on an ongoing basis available for the community. And I know we haven't gotten to this, and maybe we will get to it, is how much we're unable to do by ourselves. We started in Ibadan late last year, but actively early this year. And one of the first things that we needed was to plug into our partners and find out which of our partners are already working in Ibadan, for instance, and what resources do they have in their coffers that we are able to leverage. And that made it easy for us to get off the ground running. So just to put a word in the fact that this has to be hand in hand. And we got, in some cases, volunteer support, in some cases, technical support, in some cases, support in extending from where we were, even to other communities where we already have partners that were doing other things other than nutrition, but had infrastructure that we could get on. So that's what we do at NSC. And so far, collaborating has been, one of the smartest things that we've done, that has helped us to expand our impact and sustain our impact.
Thank you very much for that, Kemi. That's quite insightful. I'm using the word insightful, it was very insightful, and it gives us a broader landscape of how you are influencing or how you are changing malnutrition one tiny step at a time. So we're moving to Favor Jaro, moving the baton on to Favor. So to Favor, we have heard from both Gain, we have heard from Whole Eat. How are Ikore's collaborations with partners like Gain and Whole Eat advancing access to nutrition, to nutritious food? How are collaborations with partners like Gain and Whole Eat advancing access to nutritious food?
All right. Thank you very much, Esther. It's good to be here once again, and it's good to see you, Lucy and Kemi. I'll start off with saying that my name is Favor Jaro, the project lead for the science project activity, rather under the NIS project. So I'll start off by saying that the NIS project uses a market systems approach to actually improve food systems increase inclusivity, and also ultimately to improve nutritious outcome. We understood the complex nature of the food system space, and of course, we know that in improving access to safe and nutritious food, there are key players that are actually in charge of doing that, and that's why we dial back a bit to say, oh, we are going to, pick up with the MSMEs to build their capacity, and to be able to do that, these MSMEs have a critical role to play in making safe foods and nutritious foods available, affordable, and accessible. So Ikore started off by, conducting a needs assessment. Um, we had conducted a needs assessment of about 230 MSMEs that are within our portfolio. And then from the needs assessment, we were able to come up with evidence, come up with the key findings to say that these MSMEs are faced with a lot of challenges. One of the challenges are fragmented supply chain, access to finance, digital marketing, and also regulatory compliance. They have issues. There are issues around regulatory compliances, and then we pick it up from there to go a step further to develop two training manuals. One talking about safe and nutritious food processing and packaging. The second was on business development, which has to do with record keeping, pricing. Yeah, pricing was one of the things we found out from the needs assessment. And then using these tools, we're able to, provide tailored support to these 230 MSMEs in a two-day capacity building activity. And then from there, we had categorize these MSMEs into different according to their level of growth in their businesses, where we handle them to processes that each of the businesses face at the point in time. Then afterwards, we were also able to come up with innovative ways to see how we can facilitate market linkages for these MSMEs, and therefore that's what gave birth to the Ag Deal. The Ag Deal is still in process and very soon to be launched, where we'll have MSMEs linking up to buyers and suppliers. And also it will also serve as a self-help tool where MSMEs can go in there, gain some form of knowledge, improve their knowledge, and then even update as well. And currently, I would say on business formalization, out of the 230 MSMEs, through this collaboration with GAIN, we have been able to successfully register about 70% of the MSMEs now have business certification with CAC, and we also have about 5 of our MSMEs have products certificates from NAFDAC, which means that they will be able to scale into formal markets, and also that will be more sales for them. And also we have been able to link these MSMEs to financial institutions. We've been able to, handle them into pitching their products, pitching their businesses by themselves. And by doing that, we've been able to secure over 37 million naira worth of grants for these MSMEs to improve their productivity. So I will just stop there for now and hand back to Esther. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Favor. Thank you very much. Maybe later, because we'll move on to something, we want to hear the success stories, like from the work done so far so good. But before we move on to the next question, to our participants, if you have any questions, please write them in the chat box so that we could talk about them later and ask them later on. And also just be sure that everyone can hear me and hear the speakers talking. You could just react just to show that you could hear us. Just a quick reaction from everyone. Very fine. So we'll be moving back to Tomison. So thank you very much. I can see all your thumbs up and claps. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So to Tomison, how is GAIN addressing challenges around food safety and security, especially for low-income consumers?
Thank you very much. So I know that the previous speaker from Ikore has mentioned the work we are doing with the NIS, which is one of the many programs that GAIN runs in collaborations with organizations who support businesses to thrive. So the NIS, I'll give a broader overview of what that was supposed to do, and then we'll talk about some of the things.
Tomison. Hello, Mr. Tomison. Okay, I think his network is off. Maybe network issue or something. So, Kemi, we'll be moving to you until Mr. Tomison comes back online. And so to Kemi, if you had okay, it's not bad. If you had one message for development partners and policymakers investing in grassroots nutrition initiative, what would it be? Okay.
Looks like we still have a bit of a network glitch. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you clearly, Kemi. I can hear you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So the saying goes that the size of the problem is the size of the opportunity. And for me, I find that particularly exciting when we speak of nutrition. Nutrition affects every single person. And it's interesting because usually we think it's a poverty problem, but it goes way beyond poverty. Like Tomisi had said, we have safe nutrition where you can afford to buy food, but I mean, you're not sure whether it's how safe it is. We also have the issue of eating hunger, where it's not necessarily about the safety, but it's about the nutrition within what you're putting in your mouth. And so, to development partners, to policymakers, I'd say that we're beginning to wear the lens where we're seeing nutrition not just as a nutrition problem, but an economic challenge that affects the economy of the organization of the country. So I'd say that we need to wear that lens more as we sit around tables that intersect with nutrition, that intersect with the quality of life, that intersect with productivity, that intersect with our growth as our economic growth as a nation, where the lens that nutrition is not just a nutrition problem, but it's an economic problem, and therefore invest more in systems than in projects, invest more in community systems that facilitate and support the work within communities that promotes nutrition already, rather than just projects that are on their own. Because at the end of the day, you want to take it to where the consumers, the beneficiaries are. And it's from here that we're able to link the market systems, that we're able to link the families, and then we're able to replicate the efforts that we're making on a national. That's what cumulates into the national efforts that we're making. So if it is one, you've asked me for one. I have more than one, but if it has to be one, I'd say that let's invest more in systems, and investing in these systems, let's wear the lens that nutrition is an economic problem and take it to the grassroots, support initiatives that are happening at the PHC levels. The PHC is already a government platform that runs across everywhere in the country. So you want to build the systems around the community, plug it into the PHC so that it's as affordable, it's accessible as at the grassroots level. And then everybody else working in nutrition has something to build on because that system is already in place. Government is essentially the catalyst for everything that we do. Policy is what drives all of that. But I'll also say that I'll take the liberty to add one more. Let's facilitate collaboration. For community pods, we would have been able to do very little, very little. I mean, if we didn't have partners like Ikore, we didn't have partners like SBN, IITA, and all the other partners that we currently have supporting us. And sometimes we think that the challenge that we have to solving this problem is funding. But within a bootstrap, project plan, we can still do a lot if we have collaboration because the capacity within our partners that they have that they're not necessarily utilizing that we're able to plug into. And for us, that becomes value. For us, that literally becomes capital. So to build systems and to also encourage collaborations, whatever ways that can be done is what I would say that development partners and policymakers should look into.
Thank you very much, Kemi. Thank you. That was so insightful. I mean, I want to hear a lot more, but I can see that we have participants who is raising their hand. And Mr. Thomason, welcome back. Thank you. Oluwaseun has a question. So I encourage every other person who has a question to also raise their hand and to write it in the chat box. But for Oluwaseun who has your hand up, please, what is your question? Okay, so
hello.
Hello, yes.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I'm Oluwaseun. I'm the founder of Casey Foods from Ibadan. So my first question goes to Madam Kemi, my namesake, about she said they started NSC work in Ibadan. I would like to know more about it because I'm currently in Ibadan as well. Then I don't know if this is a question or I'm just saying this out to development partners because one, as I'm a nutritionist, I work with a government hospital as well, and I also produce nutritious foods. One thing I've observed is malnutrition is actually most predominant among people who cannot really even afford these nutritional foods, if we want to be honest with ourselves. For instance, I have a product and I'm selling it for 1,000. The real people who are really malnourished, who need this product, can they even afford to buy a snack or a something for that amount to their children? Can they afford such amount? So now I don't know, maybe development partners, when we are talking of, they have more works, they come with the government a lot more often. They come in places with government more often. Maybe we should start talking of maybe subsidizing or something just way beyond, like she said, systems like supporting people that are really into this, because that's one of the ways. When we're talking about accessibility, we have to talk about affordability as well. If it is accessible and it's not affordable, we are still all not eating the point and driving the goal home. So this is just what I have to say in general regarding affordability. But it's not really our problem, as much as I really want the product to be affordable. But as well, I have to. It's a business that I have to make profit or something in. But it is well, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oluwaseun. That's actually very true. It's not just about accessibility. Affordability is a huge part of that too. So I think one of our development partners here, Favor, will be able to just address that question. Ikore, yes, Favor from Ikore will be able to address that question.
Can I address it?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead. I leave it to you.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Thomason, we can hear you clearly. Welcome back.
Okay, thank you very much, and I apologize. My internet just went off. But I would start from where this question or the comment pointed at, which is affordability. Again, the work, like I said, is to address the problems in the system. And I heard Kem Jeje mention something about policy, which is the aspect of the government driving the transformation. But I want to speak to the problem of affordability. And you run a business, and if I ask you the first question, what drives your highest cost of production? If I can tell you, if you will agree with me, it will be power because of the power situation. Power is one of the factors that affect the cost of things in the country. Now, power is as a result of a major problem, which is infrastructure. Now, infrastructural problem is not today's problem. It's not something that started today. Infrastructural problem has been existing as far as I think Nigeria has been existing. So if you want to talk about affordability and you want to talk about the history of what caused it, we'll continue talking. We'll have a lot of webinars, we'll have a lot of conferences, I will not finish it. What I think we need to start talking about is how do we address the problem of affordability innovatively? On several platforms, I've been asked that question, what are we doing about affordability? Gain cannot solve the problem of affordability. As a matter of fact, nobody can solve the problem of affordability alone. One of the driver, the people who can have most influence of that factor is the government. Every one of the other players in the other sector needs to do something differently beyond complaining about the problem. If we have if we have problems and we think there are people who should come help us solve it, and they are not solving it or have not been able to solve it, then we need to think differently on how we address that problem. As a business owner, have you started your own journey towards backward integration? What that means is, have you started looking at where your products come from and how you can produce it yourself? Have you started thinking of what other ways to make some of the things you're making such that it doesn't cost as much, which then drives the problem of affordability? And this is where the collaboration thing comes in. Who are you talking to? Who are you in partnerships with that could help you in cost? I think if we do it that way, we begin to see differences and we begin to drive the prices of this food down. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomason. Just before we move to the next question, Kemi, do you have anything you want to add on this? As a business owner, we don't have any just question.
Sorry, that wasn't very clear.
I said, Kemi, do you have anything to add on this, on the question of affordability as it pertains to accessibility?
Oh yes, maybe just one thing. Definitely, the point of again leveraging collaboration to drive costs down and backward integration, like Tomisi had said, is very valid. Also, this might not solve the problem fully. Two things: behavioral change campaigning, because sometimes it's not just the fact that these consumers are unable to afford the nutritious product. It's being aware of value, what value means to people. I was once in a setting in a salon, a very small salon, and you could tell that the lady that was speaking about the nutrition of her child cared so much about her child, was not well informed. I had to have a conversation with her after that, and she was talking about how hard she works so that a child can be well nourished. And what does she buy? She buys ready to drink Milo packs as form of nutrition, and that that's very expensive, even for me. I mean, if I broke down the cost of that Milo pack, that probably has 100 mils of drink in it, a lot of, and compare that to maybe a Tom Brown formulation you will get more servings from that Tom Brown formulation. It's actually real food that can be consumed more than once. So sometimes it's enlightening the consumers so that they can rechannel how they are investing their money for nutrition. And then at other times for manufacturers, we want to look at solutions like single-use pack, and that's not I mean, none of the solutions are enough by themselves, but in the short term, allows them to be able to test out these things because they are more affordable. It's easier for them to bring out a 200 naira, buy it at once, and as they begin to see the impact of it, then they can begin to invest more in it. So, yeah, those are the two things I would say that we can begin to explore.
Thank you very much, Kemi. So Oluwaseun, thank you very much for opening up the floor with your questions. If you have any other questions to our participants, please drop them in the chat box. As you can hear, we are all learning a lot today by virtue of being here. So before I move on to the next question, just to add up to what Oluwaseun's question is about, Favor, would you like to contribute?
Yeah, I think what Kemi said was actually like it's actually what the same thing I was trying to say. As a business owner, you need to explore ways in which you can be profitable and at the same time get your product to a wider audience. So in that way, you should be thinking around, giving your products range of SKUs, maybe to one of 100, to one of 1 kg, 2 kg. That way you'll be able to reach a wider audience and still being profitable. So that's just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Favor. So circling back, we'll be throwing the baton back to Mr. Tumison. So, but before the network went off, we were talking about how GAIN is addressing challenges around food safety and security, especially for low-income consumers. So could we just circle back to that question?
Okay. Yes. I thought we had moved on from that, but anyways, I'll just answer it briefly. So GAIN is working with businesses across sectors, but because we know that for us to really reach the ones who we call vulnerable, and these are the women and children that have been described by, I think Kemi described them earlier, and the person who asked that question also knows these people. So you will agree with me that these are not the people who can go to the likes of ShopRite or the likes of any other supermarket that can buy expensive food. They would be, these are people who buy food from the informal market, food that is available at the very lower base of the pyramid, which is not serviced in most cases by these big grocery stores. So we need to know that for us at GAIN, we are trying to ensure that the systemic solutions that we develop address the institutions at this level. And that is why at SBN, we are starting with the micro scale businesses who have the vulnerable people at heart in terms of their design and in terms of the development of their product. Some of the business models that we have supported with are implementing something that we call cross subsidization. What that means is there are two categories of product. One product is strictly targeting who we call maybe the high class or the middle class clients or customers who can pay for luxurious product or a premium price. And when they pay for that, they are subsidizing for people at the lower base of the pyramid. There are those who are implementing the use of smaller packages, which means they can now sell at a lower cost to those who can afford it at that level of income of the country group. So these are some of the initiatives. The NIS is another initiative, like I mentioned, which is designed to work with enterprise support organizations who work with businesses at that level to also scale up initiatives that promote safety, food safety for low-income consumers.
Thank you very much, Emerson. So to favor, what are some of the most important lessons Ikore is learning from working hand in hand with our partners?
Okay, Esther, thank you so much for the question. So, one of our strongest lessons learned so far is that collaboration actually unlocks both skill and sustainability, as you can see in the case of Gain Sites, which is the collaboration between Ikore and then um, Gain. Then second is that tailored capacity building actually improves adoption or increases adoption. I made mention of the tailored capacity building that Ikore conducted for our MSMEs, the 230 MSMEs we have in our portfolio. You could see that there are clear results from the capacity building where MSMEs are beginning to, adopt practices like record keeping, improve on their product packaging, their pricing. So in that way, we've learned that tailored capacity building is key. And then lastly, working closely with regulatory agencies and even value chain actors, you discover that that gives us like an advantage to, for compliance, for policy alignment. I think those are the strong lessons learned so far. Thank you, and over to you, Esther.
Okay, thank you very much, people. To our participants, just a quick question to our participants. You could just drop it in the chat box before we move to the next question. What do you think is the biggest barrier to nutritious food access in Nigeria today? So just drop a quick word or a phrase in the chat box and we'll get back to you. So back to Tomisin. My next question to you is, from your perspective, what policy or regulatory actions are most urgent at the moment for strengthening nutrition sensitive food systems in Nigeria? Hello? Hello, Mr. Thomason. Okay, so I think there may be a network issue. So we would just move back to paper. But as I said, to all our participants, what do you consider the biggest barriers? I mean, someone mentioned affordability, but what do you think are our biggest barriers to nutritious food access in Nigeria today? So to favor, what are Ikore's top calls to actions to government, donors, and the private sector as we push for better food systems?
Thank you once again, Esther. So for government, I would say strengthen and enforce nutrition-sensitive policies and regulations, and also invest in infrastructure. That's to government. And then to donors, I would say invest in agri-food, the local agri-food enterprises, and also invest in knowledge sharing between public and private sector. And yeah, so lastly, I would say to the private sector now, leverage technology and innovations, and also adopt nutrition sensitive business models. That's that. I'll stop here. Over to you, Esther.
Okay, thank you very much, people. Is Mr. Tomisin back with us? Okay, so I think he's having network issues at this time. So before we round up, because we're close to our end time, I just have a question. I personally have a question for Kemi. So, to Kemi, how can urban communities, because when we talk about malnutrition, most of the time we talk about like rural communities, grassroots. So, how can urban communities, not just rural ones, adopt this grassroots approach?
Adopt what?
Like the malnutrition grassroots approach that NSC is informing us about, us. NSC is educating us about.
Okay. Okay. First, I realized that Kemi had asked the question earlier about where we are, what we're doing in Ibadan, and because she also is in Ibadan, might be open to perhaps volunteering with us or working with us one way or another. So we're in about 6 general hospitals, some of them being the Adeoyo, and then the PHC close to Adeoyo as well. We're also in Monia, we're in IAA as well. Uh, but we do currently have the NSC Center located in IAA. We're moving out of IAA soon, but now the exit for IAA and planning entry into the new one. So that will be to be out on our LinkedIn platform as soon as that is concluded. Now we're now in Lagos, and what we're doing in Lagos is Lagos mostly urban, as you're aware. And just a few days ago, we activated the in-hospital nutrition support for private hospitals, and we were in county hospitals, one of the hospitals in, oh, fantastic, Kevin. So we're in one of the hospitals in Lagos, and so there we also take nutrition education, but our emphasis here is on more of eating hunger, micronutrient deficiency, and accessibility. Maybe not so much affordability, that's also a factor, but accessibility, making nutrition accessible within the urban spaces. Because that in urban space, the challenge is, I mean, the leverage that the rural space has, in some cases, that they're able to farm. So that's able to cover some gap. But in the urban space, everybody is busy. So everybody is busy eating bread and rice. That's all. And as long as the stomach is full, so we're dealing with a lot of eating hunger in that space. So within those spaces, we're leveraging the private hospitals to provide the education that is tailored for the urban lifestyle, and then ensuring that the nutrition is accessible in those places. That's what we're doing in the urban space.
Thank you very much, Kemi. A few of us have dropped what we think are our barriers. Miriam says the nutrition barrier is affordability and processing knowledge. Omomi says lack of consistent intentional awareness, because some individuals can actually afford nutritious food, but do spend even more money on foods that aren't healthy. Very true. And then next person says limited access to nutritious foods, lack of knowledge, habits, and behavior. So I think if we do not have any other questions, Mr. Thomason isn't back. That brings us to the end of our World Foods webinar. So as we round up today, Amos Samuel says poor food processing culture, which is true. So as we round up today, a huge thank you to our brilliant speakers, Tomisin Odumbaku, Kemi Jeje, and Favor Jaro for sharing their insights. And to our participants who took time out of their busy days and busy schedules, we thank you for joining us. A few takeaways from this for me today is collaboration is not optional in the food systems community. It's the engine that powers food system transformation, and we must all align both grassroots policy level actions. We must all align for real impact. And ultimately, better food mean a better future for everyone and for everybody. On behalf of Ikore International Development Limited, thank you all for joining us, and let's continue this conversation beyond today through action, partnership, and innovation. And before we close the day, I just want to put it out there once again. Do we have any contributions? Does anybody have any few takeaways from what our speakers have said so far? So can we all turn on our cameras, just to even if we do not have any contributions. So just to bid a good and well farewell to every single person. We all turn our cameras, for a quick smile. Let's see all your beautiful faces, beautiful and handsome faces. Thank you, Miriam. I can see your beautiful face. Thank you, Ovo. Thank you for joining us. Desi, Danladi, Ivy. Thank you all for joining us. Fortune, I can see Fortune. I can see Victory. I can see Afiz. I can see Martina. Thank you all for joining us. I can see Dr. Nabil. I can see Abel. I see everyone. Thank you. I can also see your reactions to Tomison, Kemi, and Favor once again. Thank you so much for joining us. And to all of us, may we carry this forward. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day ahead. Bye.